Hello everyone, so welcome back to the YouTube channel, and it's going to be a little bit of a different video today. Something that I don't really speak much about, but it's something that I have to think about a little bit, quite frequently, is sometimes you've got to deal with the hand that you're dealt, or you've got to play with the hand that you're dealt, I should say, sorry. And some of us are dealt hands that are less fortunate than others. But it doesn't mean it should hold us back from achieving what we want to set out and achieve. So what I'm talking about here is I've been diagnosed with a condition called ulcerative colitis. And I got diagnosed when I was about 27, 28. I'm 35 now, so about 7 years ago. Now, prior to this, I didn't really have any digestive issues. If people don't know what ulcerative colitis is, I'll put the definition above, somewhere around here. Kobe wants to come and say hi. Don't you, lad? But basically I've got ulcers on my colon, and I've had 3 flare-ups, touch wood. I don't have it as bad as some people. Some people have a lot more frequent flare-ups, but I do believe what I'm going to talk about today really helps me manage my symptoms, shall we say. But yeah, I got diagnosed when I was 27, 28, and I can remember the first day of the flare-up itself, and I was in a PT session, and I just finished the PT and I went to train pull. I got on the T-bar row, and my stomach just felt off. Ran to the toilet, and then it was just like liquid. And I was like, well, that's strange. And then it felt awful. It felt absolutely awful. Now, bearing in mind, I said I was 27, 28, I've not taken a day off work since that time, unless it was for a holiday, since I started work when I was 15. Even when I used to get absolutely smashed when I worked for River Island, and I was in work on a Sunday, we went out on Saturday night, my mum would still drag me to work on a Sunday morning, saying, go to work, even though they just throw you in the stock room. So I never missed a day in work, and I couldn't move. I was just fatigued like anything. Really wasn't well, and that happened a fair bit. That was just continuously for a few days, 4 days. I was going to the toilet an awful amount. So then there was a bit of blood in the stool, and that was like, I was a bit anxious, if I'm being honest, like telling anybody that, because I was still relatively young at the time, and I was like, this is just strange, I don't really know what to say to anyone. So I told my mum, and my mum went, just go to the doctors to get it checked. And then I went to the doctors, got it checked, they checked my prostate. Nothing much more got said, but then they said, we're going to refer you for a scan because of the symptoms that you're having. And then I went for a scan, camera up the backside, search around there, and to be fair, the nurses were awesome. The nurses were absolutely awesome. I can remember them trying to make me laugh. They could see I was probably a bit nervous and anxious. And yeah, I got the diagnostic that I have got ulcerative colitis. Now, at that moment in time, like, I didn't really think that much of it, if I'm being honest. I didn't think it really affected me that much. I didn't understand it, if I'm being totally transparent. And I then done some research, really looked into it. I was like, oh shit, I've got an autoimmune disease. Like, this is going to be with me for the rest of my life, essentially. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know. I was working with Cal at the time, and Cal was awesome. Like, Cal is just one of the best coaches ever, isn't he? So, like, he was just awesome at the time, calming my nervous system down. He was telling me all these things to do, and I was thinking, shit, is that my bodybuilding future at 27 done and dusted? Because can I push food? What about the anabolics that I take? Will it upset it? And I just sort of sat back and reflected, and that's probably when I really started to think about, like, internal health a lot more. I understood, like, where I grew up when I started PT, and the industry that I worked in, with the company that I worked for within the industry, we were very much big on a holistic way of life. And the manager that I had, Kane, at the time, was all about going in the outdoors and all this. But I probably never thought about it too much. I was still I still like just doing like laddie stuff, like go and play footy, watch the games, go to the gym, look good. I didn't really think much more of the holistic elements of things, like meditating, breathing, getting outside in nature, so on and so forth. And diet-wise, I was just very regiment. I would never, this is where my life has changed an awful amount from how I am now to how I was back then. Like, I would never, ever skip a meal. Like, I'd eat the perfect amount of food. I was a perfectionist to some degree with my food, and going out for a meal made me really anxious. And when I started to look more about internal health in regards to like gut function, like having a good microbiome, having a good variety of micronutrients across the board, looking into the autonomic nervous system a little bit back then, a little bit nowhere near to what I do right now, but a little bit back then, just understanding about stress management. And I was a very stressy individual. I was a I was a big overthinker, and yeah, just that is what it is there. And then I had another flare up about 3-4 years later, and that was hard. That was really, really hard, because when you're going through a flare up, you think to yourself, when's this going to end? Is it going to end? Am I going to end up with a bag? You're drained. You're absolutely fatigued to hell because you're obviously just passing out loads of fluids, loads of electrolytes. That flare up didn't last too long. That flare up only lasted about 7 to 10 days, I think it was. But I was really, really unwell. I was really, really unwell at the time, and I was in prep. So I was like, well, fuck me. So like I pulled that prep. That was shite because I worked really, really hard to get into the position where I was looking fucking pretty good. I probably still wouldn't have done anything, but I was still looking good. I was looking the best I've ever looked at that moment in time. And I pulled the prep because I just lost so much weight. I didn't have the energy, and putting more stress on my body via going through a competition prep probably wasn't the wise move. So that was that, and then got myself better, and then transitioned into an off season and managed my symptoms and carried on. And then it wasn't until this time last year when I'm looking over there because I got my calendar. So we're in June now. So February last year, I had another flare up. So I was put in remission after that, and then I had another flare up. And I don't know what sparked this flare up. Like the other two times, I was quite stressed with certain things going on in my life. Like a house just fell through for the first time it happened. I think I was just overthinking, overworked with that. Second time, just a lot going on in my life. But the third time, nothing was really happening. Nothing at all, really. And I just started going to the toilet more frequently. And there wasn't really much blood as such. I'm sorry, this is too much information, but just a bit of an insight into part of my life that nobody really knows much about. Yeah, little bit of blood, but not much. But this one went on for a long time. This one went on for 10 weeks. And it was hard work. It was back and forth to the doctors, back and forth to the hospital. I've actually got a hospital appointment sometime soon, actually. My once a year check-in. Getting medication. I haven't actually used medication, where I never used medication I used medication after the first flare up, but I only used it for 3 or 4 days, and this time I used medication for about 5-6 weeks. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. I don't want this to be a sob story, but again, I think sometimes people got to realise that sometimes you do go through shit and you just have to crack on, essentially. And I'm very, very lucky in regards to the support network I had around me at that time, and who I have around me at this time. And it made things a lot easier. It made the process a lot easier to digest. Because it is hard, like mentally, physically, like I said before, physically you're just drained. But mentally, it's a challenge because you're in your head, you're going, when is this going to stop? What do I need to do to stop this? You're just in a bit of a loss because every time you consume food, you worry about just shitting it out. Every time you get a little bit stressed, you think, oh my God, I'm going to need a toilet. You can't go out in public because, well, you can go out in public, but every time you go out in public, you're just making sure there's a toilet close by. Like, it's a really, really big lifestyle shift when you're going through a flare-up. And loads of you will understand what that's like because you may be diagnosed with IBD, IBS. Like, I've just been diagnosed with an actual condition called colitis, and obviously Crohn's fits in the very similar brackets of that as that. But some people just have IBS and IBD, and they can still have these symptoms. They've just not been diagnosed with anything. And ever since that's the most frequent one. So this time last year, I've really doubled down on mindset. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a deep thinker, and I love how the brain works, but I've probably not focused enough on meditating and breathing. And if anyone who's watching this who may suffer with what I've just mentioned just then, like colitis, Crohn's, any kind of IBD or IBS issues, looking after your autonomic nervous system, stress management is one of the best things you can do. Obviously being aware of the food groups that you're consuming, but looking after that autonomic nervous system, making sure that you're as parasympathetic as much as possible is by far the best thing you can do. And this is why a lot of my preaching now to all the coaches that I work with, to clients, and their clients is make sure you get onto meditating, breath work, because your ability to be conscious in thought, be aware of what you're doing is massively important. You overthinking, you stressing is only going to exacerbate the problems you may have even more so. And this is why, again, when it comes to if you have got a condition like colitis and how it can ruin you, because I love to train, like I love it more than anything. I love coaching and I love training. That's why I teach and preach what I do, because there's nothing better when when you're one-to-one with someone in the gym and you're like, I know how to really fuck you up here. You just need to move your knee inwards a little bit and it's going to make the contraction a hell of a lot different. Or when you train yourself and it's like, come on, you've got this rep going, let's beat the logbook. Like, I love it, I do. And anyone knows me knows I love it. But when you're going through an instant, like a flare-up, and that love gets taken away to some degree because you haven't really got the energy to train, and you know if you're training to failure, you're just stressing the body more and more. It's hard because it's something you love, your passion gets taken away from you. And it's as I keep saying, it's hard mentally, because you don't know if you're going to be okay. And I never wanted to end up with a bag. And I was panicking all the time thinking, shit, I want to end up with a bag here. I don't know what to do because it's not stopping and I don't know how to stop it. And when you don't have a plan of action, you don't have a logical outcome to a problem, a solution to a problem, I should say, it's very, very challenging, especially for someone like myself. So this is why, again, I double down on like breath work, meditating, and I can truly say it's changed my life. I am the calmest I've ever been. I'm the most present I've ever been. Like, after this YouTube, when I upload this, I'm going for a walk with my niece and nephew, my sister, her husband, my mum and dad. I'm taking Kobe off lead because that's what makes me feel most calm. And I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. It's like I'm not bothered about work when I'm with them. I'm just being present in the moment because that's the most important thing to me. And regardless if you've got a condition like what I'm talking about here or if you've got anything, being the ability to be present is something we should all be learning to do. And I recommend two apps: State, which is a breathing app, and the Wake Up app, which is a meditating app. And by utilizing them two apps on a day-to-day basis, and it's a commitment and it's hard work because you're not used to doing it, I really, really think it will have a positive impact on what it's had on me. But when I started this video, I said you got to play with the hand you're dealt. You may have health conditions, unactive thyroid, endometriosis, PCOS, type 2 diabetes, like what my friend Nathan has. He has a very type 2 diabetes. You could have anything what I mentioned, like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, IBS, IBD. There's loads of medical conditions that we can have. But don't let that become your identity. Don't let that hold you back from what you want to achieve. Figure out a way for you to be able to make progress while still having this condition, because that's what I've done. I'm competing in 5 weeks. I still do what I do because I love it, and I'm just making sure I'm doing everything I can to manage that nervous system to be the best, to make sure that my body is as calm and can respond the best possible way. And it does take time, it does take effort, but you should not, in my opinion, let a condition hold you back from things that is possible, because it's hard work. And that's something that I'm very, very passionate about, is making sure that this colitis doesn't hold me back in life. I want to enjoy my life to the fullest. As I said, I'm going for an amazing walk today with my family, and if that means I have to commit myself to meditating and breathing every single day, true right, I'll do it. Because one, it's highly beneficial anyway, but two, that 15 minutes, 20 minutes I dedicate every single day means that I can calm my nervous system down. Or if it means I have to cut out a food group, I can't really eat sweet potato too much, it doesn't agree with me. If I have an abundance of that, it doesn't agree with my digestive system, okay, I don't fucking eat it then. Because I would much rather have the benefits of not having to go to the toilet, the stress, whatever it may be, than eat the sweet potato. And if you're someone who suffers with a condition that means you can't do a certain thing, accept it. Because what's more important, you doing that certain thing and then having the negative repercussions which make you feel shit for days, or you just kick that certain thing out. For example, if you don't get along with, say if you're gluten intolerant, okay, you see there, don't have it then. Just don't have it. Do your best to avoid it, because it can't always be avoided. Sometimes you have traces of it in there. Do your best to avoid it, because it's not worth the issues you're going to have days and days after. It's just not. Be disciplined enough to ignore that. the desire to have it, because that's the hand you're dealt, okay? And you've got to play with it. And if you want to achieve a good quality lifestyle, sometimes it means we can't do things that we want. So a little bit of a different video for me there, a little bit more of a personal one, but that's how I truly believe is you've got to play with the cards that you're dealt, and sometimes it's a shitty hand, but you've got to do the best you can with it. And everyone has problems, everyone has challenges, and we just need to overcome them. So hopefully you all enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe and do the YouTube thing, and I'll catch you all in the next one.